All right. Well, why don't we wrap this session up a little bit? I wanted to just make a couple of last remarks about implications for policy and practice and research. From the study, it seemed very clear to us that the communities that we visited really do view FUP as a very valuable resource for youth aging out of foster care. One respondent actually described FUP to us as the gold standard, in part because it offers youth the flexibility to live anywhere they want, and because youth are very eager to live on their own at this age. So almost 2/3 of the communities with FUP vouchers who do not serve youth said that they would be inclined to serve youth in the future if they had more vouchers, suggesting that they do recognize the value of these vouchers for youth. A second theme that came out in the survey and the site visits is that communities are often very challenged to carve out space for youth in a small program that has high demand that was originally intended to preserve families. And of course, set-asides and the first-come, first-serve approach are both important ways to help communities maintain availability for these youth. And our speakers here today are doing that, but the data illustrate that many PHA, PCWAs are not taking either of those approaches. The third takeaway is that interagency collaboration between PHAs, PCWAs, the whole community-based organization network is very difficult and is very essential. In some cases, it may be difficult to achieve, especially if agencies are not accustomed to sharing decision-making. So it's possible that communities may need some guidance to help learn how to work together more effectively. In addition, strategic partnerships between PCWAs and the community-based organizations that attract youth may be a very useful strategy in terms of engaging youth in the supportive services. Finally, encouraging communities to either serve all eligible youth on a first-come, first-served basis or to set aside a share of vouchers for youth would ensure that youth have ongoing access. Okay, so I just want to leave you with a few questions for future research in this area. This study was an initial exploration into how FUP is used as a housing support for youth aging out of care. And although we learned a great deal, there are still a lot of questions, of course, that need to be examined. For example, it would be very useful to understand whether simply requiring PCWAs to offer supportive services without requiring those youth to actually participate in them is an effective strategy in promoting youth self-sufficiency and ability to live independently. So future research probably should take a close look into what the take-up is, the intensity, the quality of those supportive services. Additional studies could also examine whether certain types of youth are more likely to benefit from an 18-month voucher term than others, and what can be done to increase the number of FUP communities that serve youth. And finally, future research should explore whether FUP is effective in preventing homelessness over the long term or whether its main benefit is really short-term housing. Thank you.
Robin, if I could add just one piece to your research, if I could encourage anyone to do youth participatory research, I think that would be ideal, because if young people help us answer these questions, then we are going to get the best answers. And there are so many passionate young people who want to make the system better for those coming up. So include young people in your research.
All right, sounds good. Okay, we're going to move on to the next panel now. Mark Courtney is going to moderate, and we have a great panel that he will introduce.